Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. It is Connor. We're back here with another episode of the Rumourville, your morning Leeds United news updates. We're back here with another episode. Make sure you're slapping a like, make sure you're commenting, and make sure you are subscribed. There is 39% of you not subscribed. I mean, what are you doing? Make sure you hit that subscribe button, everybody. Post notification bell on so you know exactly when we upload here. You even get a lovely ping on your phone, if it's on loud, of course. We have a Patreon episode now available on Patreon. If you're looking for your Leeds United podcast sphere this week, make sure you do so. All contributions go towards the channel. We are going to be doing giveaways more frequently over there. Shout out to all the new members over there as well. We have announced the winner. As I said, we'll be getting new giveaways over there very, very shortly. Okay, so let's see who is in the chat. Shout out to all of you whenever you're watching this. I know some of you watch it on the replay. I know some of you are at work like normal civilians. And you're watching this in the evening, in the night, or whatever, so you can't catch it. If you are lucky enough to catch this live, then shout out to all of you guys. Really appreciate your support as well. And we're going to get into today's news. Jack Lace in the building. Hello, Jack. Kieran is here. No way have I made myself. He's on a live. Shout out to you, Kieran. Shout out, mate. Morning, boss. Hope you're good, buddy. Hope you're good. Everybody's in the chat. Really nice to see. Mike AS says, morning, Con. Lots of rumors of Creed, possibly going here and there, everywhere, but realistically, we don't need him to be heading out soon regarding money. Morning content. Morning content. Morning Connor says, Alan, great content. Thanks, buddy. Morning, Connor. Hope you're well. Sam says, any Euro content. Sam and everybody in the chat, I always ask you to get involved, to let me know what you think. This is why I try to do the whole community stuff, because I'm like, what do you want me to do? If you want me to do some Euros chat, some ideas, I have put some stuff out on the channel in terms of maybe things that you'd like to see, some reviews of England games, some reviews of certain other games. I will do it if you guys are bothered about it. If you guys are not bothered about it, I will not do it. So let me know in the comment section below. Rack up the likes if you want me to do some England content or some general Euro content as well. And I will put something together for you guys if that's what you'd like to do. Just let me know. Sam, I can see what you're saying there, mate. Potentially, we could be doing some of that as I get my leg over. Pause. Okay, let's get into your news. There is a fair few of you in the building here. So as I say, make sure you're racking up those likes, everybody. Okay, what can you see on the title? Big Summerville update. Yes, a big Summerville update indeed. So Jacques Talbot is reporting this morning that apparently Liverpool are still there, baby. They're still there, and they are willing to pay up to £35 million for Crescencio Summerville. Newcastle are also in the building when it comes to the negotiation of the Dutch flying winger. But reports today, and this is quite exciting, but reports today are suggesting that Crescencio Summerville is extremely happy where he is, according to Team Talk, really happy where he is, and he will not be forcing anything regarding Leeds United. Now, we've spoken on this before. Summerville has always been exceptional when it comes to conduct, which is why it's vexed me more than anything that Leeds fans have almost disregarded him. And listen, when I say disregarded, I understand why we're all saying stuff like, squad building, because how can you squad build with a player like Chris Summerville there? Because he's gone, isn't he? We all think he's gone. I've been doing the exact same. But I think there's been a lot of disregard and shade thrown to him because he's almost going, and we all think he's going anyway. So it's like, we don't need him anyway. He's been rubbish, blah, blah, blah. That's obviously not true. We're all sensible people here and logical people. He's been phenomenal for Leeds United. But a scenario for you, imagine if we didn't get a bid that we expect. Imagine if we think to ourselves that whatever is put towards us when it comes to a package for the Dutchman, we don't deem acceptable. What do we do? Do we keep him around? He's the jewel in the crown. Are the Leeds Chiefs even expecting to keep him? But that update from Team Talk today suggesting that he's very happy at Leeds United is contrary, obviously, to the reports from Jacques Talbot, which state that Liverpool and Newcastle are still there with a £35 million bid. Should do it, was the quote I was reading this morning. But if they don't rack up that price, Crescencio Summerville will continue to shine in the Championship. We all know this. He will tear it apart next season as well. And if you're able to keep him And we're talking about Archie Gray. We're talking about keeping him for one more year. One more year. If we're able to do that again with Crysencio Summerville, that is an interesting conversation to be having here, because, you know, you are almost guaranteeing top 3, top 4 there already. You know, I understand. Look, I always say there's a lot of Leeds fans, because I read discourse, I read discussion, and there is a lot of Leeds fans saying that they already believe it's going to be top 3, top 4 anyway, which is realistic in the Championship. I'm a little bit more on the fence as we speak right now. Reason behind that is because our squad has really been torn up and will continue to be torn up, not just with potential players leaving when it comes to quality like Summerville, Nonso, Archie Gray, touchwood doesn't happen, but players of that ilk. But also, we might see potentially Cooper leaving when it comes to, you know, contract expiry. We might still see Jamie Shackleton leaving. Junior Firpo, 12 months left on his deal. What's going to be happening there? It's likely that Leeds should be looking for an offer for him. That would make sense. There's not been any discussion whatsoever or discourse about him signing a new deal. So Leeds moving him on would be advantageous to the club to getting a fee. We also need to bring a right back in. We also need to sort these loans out, who's staying, who's going. So Summerville would be a bit of a constant. Someone who's been there, who's done it, who's loved the club for the time he's been there, and he's never caused any problems. Any problems whatsoever, this boy has never caused. And is he looking at his career now and thinking, well, I'm going to have these offers next year anyway. I am happy where I am, you know? There has not been any murmurs whatsoever. We kind of heard it a little bit toward the end and throughout his last sort of 4 or 5 months with Rafinha, who is the only comparison I can think of in terms of just being levels above the current squad. We knew that Deco and him wanted to go to Barcelona. We were very, very aware of that. Deco was angling for a move. Rafinha had always supported Barcelona. He'd loved the Brazilian exports that had been there and succeeded. Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho. But Summerville, there's been nothing. And there never has been anything, apart from a rejected bid last summer where he said, look, I don't want to go. And that was for him to play back in the Premier League, and he didn't want to do it. So this is so interesting right now, because now we're discussing something very, very different. Very, very different when it comes to, well, if Summerville was to stay, Leeds weren't to sell the winger, then what? Because Leeds still need to accrue a certain amount of money. Leeds need to still bring in some value to put against the accounts, to go against PSR, you know, profit and sustainability, whatever we want to discuss here. So this is where it becomes extremely interesting and almost a game of chess. So we all heard the news yesterday on Aaronson, and I want to talk about that a little bit on this morning's live. I want to get your guys' thoughts as well. What do you think? Are you happy? Are you sad? Blah, blah, blah. We're not going to accrue any value from him. Now, did we think we would? Probably not. You know, there was the option for him to go back out somewhere. Has there been any permanent bids which have just not touched the £30 million mark, which they won't, but Leeds need to make some sort of money back on Brenden Aaronson. They can't record a loss of 15, 20 million because that would look hideous against the books. The thing is, when you at least look at some of the homegrown talent, that is pure profit against the books. It is pure profit. And we all have to be accountants nowadays, don't we, Leeds United fans? We all have to be accountants. But that is almost the way that football's gone. We have to be able to talk about X, Y, and Z. So, yeah, really fascinating. Now, what would you do? Would you be looking to angle a move for Summerville and maybe potentially moving other bodies on? Would you forsake Crysencio Summerville staying for Archie Gray going? But it's really interesting news this morning. As I said, Team Talk reporting that he is very, very happy at Leeds and he will not be forcing the move out. Now, with a lot of players previously, we've had issues with them trying to arc for a move here. Summerville could be doing that in the background. We wouldn't know. But normally you hear of it quite instantaneously. The market hasn't opened yet. I believe it has for the Premier League now on the 10th, and it will do on the 14th, I think, for EFL clubs. So we'll see straight away there. We all expect him to leave anyway. But how interesting is this going to be if this carries on and on and on and on? What we do know is Leeds need to make contingency plans. If this is going to go on and on and on and on, what do we know right now? Leeds need to pay a certain fee back by the 24th of June. But if this is to drag on through the summer months, Leeds always need to be acting with caution here, because if he is to go towards the end of it, we do not want a Sinisterra-style problem where Leeds are scrambling for a winger on the last day of the season. Let's have a look what some of you guys are saying. I keep getting your comments in the section below. Connor, if you have already, sorry with the squad rebuild regarding the number 10 wingers this season, could you do a video explaining Farke's tactics previously and how you think we'll play this season? I can do, Daniel. Yeah, no problem. If you want me to compare the Norwich side that he had, I can do that for you. I see Wober quoted as saying his phone is turned off till the Euros. Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? Morning, Connor. Going to watch them start. Shout out to you, mate. Verba would be a great addition. So you're saying there's a chance, Connor. Josh, I just feel like if we're looking at it right now, shout out to you, Jim. Sell Grey, not good for us. Bootsy says, when it's 3 a.m. in California, you've been on the lash, but you still need your Leeds fix. Yes, lad. Shout out to you. Is it whiskey? What's going on, man? Yeah, so positive in a sense. And that's how I'm feeling with Leeds at the minute. It is, I'm expecting something big this window, people. I'm expecting something big. I'm expecting some huge sort of some big signings coming in, some interesting moves by Leeds United on this chessboard. And could Summerville be one of those? Could he be one of those? It's just, I find it mad to know that clubs have been quoted 35 million quid, of which that is right. You got Sunderland looking at 20 million quid for Job Bellingham. Yeah. All right, people. Joe Bellingham. I would expect 10 to 15 million quid for a player who was contribute to 30 goals and at the same time has been the championship player of the year. Championship player of the year should be 35, 40 million, 100%, especially in this modern era that we live in where money is crazy and clubs pay stupid money. Now, the problem is we are not, in my opinion, looking at two clubs here in Newcastle and Liverpool, respectively, who are spending stupid money. And I know a lot of you will say, Tonali, 70 million. But I do look at a lot of the other signings they've made. Anthony Gordon, I look at Bruno Guimaraes, and I think they've been good signings for the money that Newcastle paid. I don't think they've been completely ripped off for those guys. I actually think Harvey Barnes will come good for 35 odd million as well. So I think Newcastle recently have been decent in the market as well. But Summerville improves those sides exponentially. I still think the likely one is Chelsea, but it will all depend on outgoings for them as well. But keep an eye on Liverpool, obviously, with Arne Schlupp. Not another Leeds podcast says, I've just launched a new Aaronson ankle weights with strong anti-wind technology. You might survive next season. Shout out to you, mate. Shout out to you. Matt J says, hi, Connor. Why do we always seem to leave it late for recruitment? I hope it's not like last season. Let's see Leeds be aggressive. Steve says, could Leeds use the Red Bull money? They certainly can. They certainly can. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Aina says, if we could sell Mele, Nonso, Gruev and Kamara to comply with FFP would be ideal in my opinion. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. Now, let's swiftly move on. I don't want to discuss as such Brenden Aaronson because we've done that to death really on the channel yesterday. Make sure you check out the content yesterday, everybody. If you literally want a deep dive into the Brenden Aaronson scenario and pros and cons. But I do want to touch on a bit of a controversial figure who I think we are going to see back at Leeds United. Fortunately, unfortunately, it feels like the general opinion now, and I want to get the temperature from you lot, you logistical lot, but you also disagreeing with Connor lot, which is fine, baby. No problem with that whatsoever. I just want to hear your thoughts on it. Rasmus Christiansen. Now, I would be stunned if Leeds were to receive any offers for Rasmus, which fit in with Rasmus's idea of a good move and fit in with a Leeds United move of which we sort of looked at and thought, okay, now it didn't go well for him at Roma last season. I think his agent is pretty much 007 if he's able to sort of wrangle that sort of scenario. I don't know how he got a Roma move on Jose Mourinho. That was quite staggering. But, Llorente seems to have thrived there. I think Llorente showed spells at Leeds where he was decent, but other spells where he was just truly atrocious. Rasmus Christensen, want to get your thoughts, everybody. Now, for me, this is the one of which I can't believe we're backstepping as a fan base on this guy. I get it. It's a step down. I get it. it is a player of which may do okay at this level. I get it that people have said, look, Firpo, none of us expected, blah, blah. Dan James, none of us expected, blah, blah. But I do still feel that the rhetoric on this channel in particular with Dan James could have was almost transparent, but we all thought that that transitional move to the championship was going to be okay for him. I think we'd said that from the start. Firpo, I didn't ever think it would work at Leeds, and that a lot of that was based on his availability, which is a huge asset in football, one of the primary assets in football, being available, for goodness sake. But Rasmus Christensen, I think with Firpo, just for context, I think the ability was always there. We always knew that. Betis, Barcelona, of course it was there. I mean, that's the evidence right there. That's a plethora. You need the portfolio. Aaronson, even in this conversation, we bought him for £30 million, which doesn't mean he's a good player, but he's been seen as one of the better players in the US men's national team. He came with a bit of a reputation. There were other clubs, including Liverpool, having an eye on him. Rasmus Christensen was a bit of a signing out of the blue, really. We obviously knew Bielsa liked Aaronson as well, which was a big sort of tick box for a lot of us Leeds fans. Rasmus was signing out the blue. It was cheap. And to be honest, from day dot, when he was out jumped by about a 4'7" Daniel Podence when Leeds played Wolves on the opening day of the season, I thought we may have a problem here. Now, let me sort of expand on this and try like reverse the whole memory structure here. Now, we know that he's going to be dropping down a level. We know that might help him, of course, like it's helped other players who we've just mentioned. I do feel Rasmus Christensen, technically and athletically, is one of the worst players I've seen at Leeds United recently. In recent history, one of the worst players. Now, I said this several times. I'm a Leeds fan. I'm criticizing. I'm critiquing. I guess it's not sending him out to the Wolves. This is what I always thought with Rasmus. Now, if I'm getting my kind heart, not cold heart, back on, the scene here, I can say, look, we'll give him a chance, and he might become our right back in the next season, and I think that will happen. I think we are almost offering insurance for Shackleton. I think Rasmus isn't going to get a move. We're going to bring him back in, and I think Archie might be that cover. That isn't upgrading for me at all. I think he's weak on the overlap, of which we need an overlap this season. We saw, I think last season, a lot of the time that overlapping player wasn't really there for Leeds United, and we would be asking the front three to do their business instead of having that on that right-hand side. I thought you saw it a lot more from Junior Firpo post-January, but that right-hand side overlap was lacking for a lot of the season for me. Archie would do it, but I think we would see a lot more of, give the ball to whoever, if it's Dan James and Nonso, and just do what you can do, I guess. I didn't think you saw the overlap as sort of often as you did in that left-hand side with Firpo, Kamara, and Summerville working in that trio, really. But probably because Leeds forced a lot of play down that side the majority of the time, which is backed by our seasonal heat map. But I just don't think, I mentioned this on Twitter, the place where logic is amplified, of course, that I just don't think athletically he's got it. I don't think he's physical. I didn't think he was good running with the ball. I didn't think he was quick. I didn't think he was good at delivering a ball into a box. I didn't think he was good at reading danger. I thought his positional play was caught out. I thought he was caught out a fair few times, which didn't really give good indications when you had him on one side in the Prem and Firpo on the other side in the Prem. But once again, we bring it back to that age-old question. You go down a level, and would he improve? Well, that's the big question. That's the big debate. If Rasmus Christensen dropped down a level, would he improve? Now, yes, I think he would. But I also don't think he's a good footballer on any level. I really don't. I think he's a poor technician. And I'm not saying you have to be the most technically able player in this division, but let's not be mistaken and think, well, this is it's a really, really poor division. You can have crap fullbacks and average wingers and a striker who gets you 15 goals a season and get promoted. You can't. You need to have a strong back line. You need to be able to keep clean sheets, and you have to have a goal scorer up front. But, you look at Daniel Farke's system with Norwich, Jamal Lewis, Aarons, who used to fly forward, apply a hell of a lot of pressure, but apply offensive structure as well as defensive structure. And they used to contribute to several attacks. Rasmus Christensen, for me, never had that fluidity. He never had that fluidity in his movement. As I've mentioned several times, his technical ability on the ball was below average. His defensive play was poor. And I just don't think he read the game well. I don't think he read the game well. And I think his agent has done a splendid job getting him to Roma. But I'm really interested to hear what the temperature is here on the Leeds United discourse in the One Leeds chat. There's over 1,000 of you in the building, everybody. Get your comments in the section below. And I want to hear what you think on this. I really do. Shout out to you, Ethan, has become a member. He's member for 5 months now. Shout out to you, buddy. No, if I see Rasmus again, I have a heart attack. Luke said he's terrible, Connor. He talked about Leeds fans and the city of Leeds when he signed for Roma. Rasmus, yeah, I do remember when he signed for Roma, there was a little bit of discussion, wasn't there, Becchio, on him leaving Leeds. I think he said something like, Roma is a much bigger club. I've never been, this is the biggest club I've been at, blah, 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 the atmosphere and all this sort of stuff, which I don't think went well at the time. He's a definition of highlight reels can be deceiving. Yeah, and I think, do you know what? The interesting thing about the highlight reels is there's a lot of people talking about it with Aaronson. Joe was talking about it yesterday with Aaronson. I think you have got to be careful with the old highlight reel. I can see Brenden Aaronson come back and been effective, maybe off the bench, and I don't want him to start, I'll be honest with you. But listen, I could see Aaronson being effective in the Farke system. I can see him being effective. Christensen, you guys have known, I've always been the same with. I've always kept a constant with him. He's just not that guy for me. And we can do a hell of a lot better. I would have rather kept Luke Ayling for a season and a bit than Rasmus Christensen. I think Luke Ayling's ability, and we saw that when he was in the Premier League, when Rasmus would come out and Luke would be playing ahead of him, genuinely. And this is me, someone who didn't think Luke Ayling was at it anymore for Leeds United whatsoever. And other club would be, other clubs available for Luke Ayling, as we've seen with Borough. But I would rather keep Luke Ayling than reintroduce Rasmus Christensen. I really would. Stephen says, no, Christensen is a liability. Big Sam thought he was a centre-back. Even the Danish media are rinsing him. Interesting. Really interesting there. Anders says, I'm from Denmark and I can't defend Rasmus Christensen. He's just not it. I worry, says Tim, if we don't sell and basically go again with roughly the team, then the other clubs have a blueprint on how to beat us. Would give Aaronson another go. He will be stronger than last time. Rasmus was quite slow and behind play a lot. I'd only take Rasmus as a backup centre-back playing as much as Charlie did last season. Surely Farke sees his lack of football ability. Connor, did you hear Ted Lasso now coaching him? Yeah, obviously, yeah. Obviously with it, but listen, he got a clean sheet, didn't he, the other day? Boss says, the only positive I can see with Rasmus is pace and a threat in the box from corners, but as a turning circle of a bus and calmness on the ball, rather play. Yeah, and this is the thing. I would much rather play. I'd much rather play with Byram and Ayling's got a Borough, but an Ayling, and what does that say? We're not having an upgrade here, are we? And if we're moving Archie back in central midfield, which I think Leeds will do, we're downgraded massively in a hugely important position. So for me, no, not at all. I can see it with Aaronson. I understood it with Firpo. I understood it with Dan James. Rasmus, as you guys know, I am dying on that hill. From you guys have all played football. I've played football. I just think, I listen, I don't want to castigate the lad. And this isn't me trying to personally offend him. If they do watch stuff like this, I doubt they do. But I just don't think he's at it at all. I think him moving on in whatever capacity is the right move. But I think he'll stay at Leeds United. I think that's going to happen. So, yeah, let's get on the Max Wober, the change, as you can see. And Brenden Aaronson, we'll get onto in just a little sec. But the change, is there potential that Max Wober stays at Leeds United? Now, there's rumours circulating this morning that maybe the offers aren't coming in for Max Wober. Maybe we're looking at a scenario. Obviously, we know that there's not a sort of a loan preferential thing in his contract, which Harrison and Rocker have, where they go back out again. Wober's going to be an interesting one. Now, Wober is someone who had a conversation with Daniel Farke last season and told him he was going to be sticking around. He was then on the posters, he was then in the kit, and then he left right at the death. And I think that's going to really hurt Farke. And you look at Farke and think, can he trust him on all levels after that? I would be saying that as a manager. You know, right at the last minute, I understand footballers look at the career. I'm not being deluded. I'm also not sentiment FC in my mind when it comes to it. And I feel like I'm quite sensible with it when I look at it, and I understand footballers' perspectives when it comes to moving on and all this sort of gear. But I do think that'll have played a part in Farke's head. He's uttered something verbal of he's only looking at his phone after the Euros. I think he feels like he's bigger and better than Leeds United at this moment in time. And I understand that he's been good for much in Gladbach. They're interested in his signature. Even if Farke was to have a discussion with Wober, could you trust him that he's going to be sticking around? Could you then turn around and say, right, well, we're not getting another centre-back because we're going to keep hold of Wober? And then could you realistically trust the aspect of him and his agent actually being happy towards the back end of the window with staying, remaining, and being part of the Leeds United plans? I'm not sure you could. And I understand that Leeds can't keep everyone. As I've said to you guys, we have to comply with these rules. So we're going to have to bring some sort of capital in. Red Bull isn't gonna cover it all. But Wober, I think, as a championship player, would be very good. Would be very, very good. And he's definitely someone who you'd look at and think, yeah, he would acclimatise. Once again, much of Gladbach, he's had a good season. I think we all thought when we came down or went into the championship, I said I wouldn't be mad if he left last season. And I still wouldn't be mad if he left this season, but I think he'd be a good addition. On that left side, ever centre-back partnership, I think it'd be nice that. I think it'd be really good to have him in, but I'm not 100% sure that. I think that's the weakest link of them all, to be honest, for him staying. Could even be weaker than Summerville staying. Ricky says, Wober knows he can put himself in the window during the Euros. We are his last chance insurance, nothing else. And I think that's probably the thing which hurts Leeds fans. Look, he will be our last resort. I completely agree with you. 100% is our last resort. But you know, if you're somehow able to keep him, it's a right addition at this league, at this level as well. That is a superb addition. You know, he's our best centre back, wasn't he, in the Premier League? And if he's to come down and be part of something different, then yeah, interesting stuff. Any news on Jack Harrison? Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Wait for the 14th, and we'll see what happens there. And Brenden Aaronson huge issue. Everybody, I have heard from a little birdie that he is a little bit concerned. Brenden, a little bit concerned about the fan reception with him, and that is understandable. I put out on a few media sites the other day that I was a little bit concerned, not concerned, but I'm very meh about him coming back. I see pros, I see cons. I do. I see pros and I see cons. And if you want to check out that full video, make sure you have a look at it from yesterday. That's my personal fan opinion. I see pros, I see cons, but you know, I'll support him. You know, as if Rasmus came back, I'd support him. I don't think Rasmus would do well. I'm a little bit on the fence with Brenden in terms of how we're going to utilize him. And the big reason I'm on the fence with Brenden is I don't want it to affect our other business. I don't want that to mean that we're not going to look at a 10. I don't want it to mean that we're going to almost focus the attack on Aaronson and James. I think we need a technical player in there who can really help Leeds United, as someone who Daniel Farke has always had. Now, would that be dependent on Summerville staying? Of course it would. Rutter staying? Of course it would. But I still think Leeds have a very young offensive line, and we need to get a little bit of experience there who can put his foot on the ball and show elements of composure and class. And that's the step forward for me. But yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see how this pans out. But Brenden Aaronson is one where I look at and I think, yeah, the fan reaction is going to be interesting. Obviously, he was one of them out the door. But what we found out recently is that Farke, before Farke even came in, Brenden was leaving. But you know, do you see that as a negative thing? You know, that he was trying to move already, and obviously quotes were said by him when he arrived at Union Berlin on you know, the size of the club and all this sort of stuff, and being here, and it almost felt like, you know, listen, we have all got to be brutally honest. We're all talking about the rats jumping ship, and we're all fine with that and fine with them leaving a month ago. It's funny how football works, isn't it? We saw it with Nonto. Fans' opinion can massively change. And if Aaronson's to come in and like Nonto start firing Leeds in the right direction and start proving stuff on the pitch, then there's not going to be any bad fan reaction. But what I do know personally is he's a little bit worried about the fan reaction, about him coming back, and it'll be interesting to see how the media smooth this out when it comes to the Leeds United PR vehicle. Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. Make sure if you've just joined, there's over 1,200 of you in the building, slap a like on the video. And if you've just joined, as I say, watch from the start. Please like the video as well, everybody. It ranks higher in the algorithm. We're trying to make the room as best as we can and the videos as best as we can. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll probably be back this evening with some more content as always. Guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Head on over to the Patreon for some bonus content. Check out the merchandise. Link in the description below. If you've ordered before, you get 10% off your second order. And I will see you in a bit. Cheers.